welcome to the What's Up News Network, being broadcast from Panama City Beach, Florida, home of the world's most beautiful beaches. And according to TripAdvisor, Panama City Beach, Florida ranks number 2 in the world as an emerging destination. Please subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red button just below the picture. On the real estate market, we have 278 active condominium listings. 128 of those are waterfront units, which is the lowest inventory that I've seen in 20 years. There are 185 detached single-family units on the market, 20 of which are waterfront units. There are 33 attached single-family units, and none of these are on the waterfront. Before we get started with the message, I would like to send my condolences to the families of the FBI special agents Daniel Alvin and Laura Schwarzenberger, who died in Sunrise, Florida shooting Tuesday. These two agents devoted their careers to investigating crimes against children. Miami Special Agent in Charge George Pirro called the shooting and the loss of Alvin and Schwarzenberger a very dark day for the FBI. The agents were known for their extreme efforts in the field of curbing child abuse, with their investigatory work and educating students against the perils of sex crimes. Our chosen profession is fraught with danger. Today, this grim reality has taken 2 of our best from our family, stated Pirro. Daniel was 36 years old, was a New York native, and started his FBI career in Albany, New York office. In 2009, he was assigned to the Miami office in 2017, investigating crimes against children. Daniel was recognized as an expert in federal court in areas related to computer forensics and the investigation of child exploitation crimes. The documents added that he had testified on more than 20 occasions as a witness across more than 10 federal jurisdictions. Alvin played a critical role in the massive investigation that led to hundreds of child pornographic arrests. The case and the thousands of follow-up investigations it has launched is unprecedented in its scope and reach. These 2 FBI agents from Fault Crimes Against Children unit and 3 other agents are also wounded in the South Florida shooting. The case involved Playpen. This is described by authorities as a highly sophisticated global enterprise dedicated to the sexual exploration of children, organized by a members-only website that operated in the dark web. Alvin and his team investigated results in the arrest of at least 350 people based in the United States, the prosecution of 25 producers of child pornography, the arrest of 51 hands-on abusers, and the identification and rescue of 55 American children. Abroad, the investigation led to 548 arrests and the identification and rescue of 296 sexually abused children. Laura was from Pueblo, Colorado. She joined the FBI in 2005 and was assigned to the Albuquerque, New Mexico office. She has served the Miami office since 2010. She worked on cases of crimes against children for more than 7 years. Laura's scope of work included other sex crimes. Both Laura and Daniel leave behind a spouse and children. The shooter was identified as David Lee Huber, who took his own life. According to former co-workers, Huber had mental and anger issues. The agents were killed while trying to serve federal warrants, and serving warrants and handling domestic issues is the most dangerous time for law enforcement officers. These agents devoted their lives to protecting our children. Satan won this round, but the battle is not over. You've heard me rail against the media and social media. And here I am on social media trying to get you to believe what I say has some value. You might ask, what credentials do I possess to make you think that I have something of value, when the only thing I have is a birth certificate that shows I was born April the 6th, 1942. And if I make it to April the 6th of this year, I'll be 79, which gives me some standing because I am now considered an elder. You might have heard the old saying, when you get too old to do bad things, you can start giving good advice. My parents and grandparents tried to give me good advice, but it was not until I was in my mid-20s that I realized that my parents were not as out of step as I had thought they were. Several years ago, after I graduated from Cave Spring High School, I had an occasion to meet with my former principal, Gene Toulouse. By that time, my best friend in high school, Joe Gossett, was commander of the Georgia State Patrol Post, and I was chief of police. Mr. Toulouse said that he had visions of bars when Joe and I were in high school, but he thought we would be on the other side of them. By the grace of God and many prayers, we did not end up on the wrong side, although there was one time I thought we were. In 1960, Tommy White, Joe Gossett, and I decided to spend a week in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We rented a cabin near Lake Winfield Scott, which is part of the Chattahoochee-Oconee National Parks. We were in Tommy's bright red 1954 Ford, which happened to be registered to his mom, who was a house mother at the University of Georgia in Athens. On the first day, we decided to rent horses. Unfortunately, Tommy ran into a tree limb with a hornet's nest on it, and the horses went crazy and threw the riders off. We did not realize until later that Tommy had lost his wallet containing his ID and driver's license. The next day we searched, but we could not find it. We decided we had enjoyed horseback riding long enough, so we decided to go to Brasstown Ball, which is the highest point in Georgia. It's 4,784 feet above sea level. When we got to the top, we could see 4 states: North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and of course Georgia we were in. It was gorgeous. At that time, the road was narrow and unpaved. About halfway down the mountain, we sideswiped another vehicle. It turned out to be a funeral director and his family from Augusta, Georgia. I had to walk several miles to the foot of the mountain until I found a house that had a phone. I called the Union County Sheriff's Office, and it was about an hour before the sheriff himself arrived. He was driving a 1957 black Ford with flipper hubcaps, a cage back seat with shotgun and rifle mounted on the cage that separated the front and back seat. I got to ride in the back. We tried to explain to the sheriff that we lived in Cave Spring, Georgia. The car was registered to Tommy's mother, who lived in Athens, Georgia, and her last name was not White. Tommy could not produce a driver's license, so the sheriff, probably rightly so, thought we had stolen the car. So all 3 of us ended up in the back of the sheriff's car, and he transported us to Union County Jail. The sheriff and his wife were very nice, and we were released after he verified the car was not stolen. I've done a lot of foolish things in my life, made a lot of mistakes. My dad was the one that handed out discipline, and I did not get near as much as I deserved. My dad would tell me what I could not do, and I would try to figure out the best way to get around what he had told me not to do and to do it without being caught. My mom, on the other hand, would say that I knew right from wrong. She knew I would not disappoint her. That message stopped me from doing many things that I knew were wrong. I did not want to disappoint my mom. On the lighter side, my cousin Mary Jane Smith was married to Bobby Joe Smith, and according to Mary Jane, Bobby Joe would get mean when he was drinking, which was most of the time, and he would beat her. One day after she had he had given her a busted lip, she went to the Cave Spring pharmacy and tried to buy some arsenic. Gail, the young pharmacist, said, "May I ask what you will be using the arsenic for?" Mary Jane said, "I'm going to give it to my husband." Gail said, "Oh, no, I can't give arsenic to kill your husband." "Who is your husband?" "It's Bobby Joe Smith. I think you were married to him at one time." Gail said, "Did you want that in powder or liquid form?" Some of my Yankee friends think all Southerners, most rednecks, use first and middle names. Bobby Lee, Jimmy Jack, Bobby Joe, Mary Lou, Betty Jean, and so forth. The middle name was often used by our moms to give us notice when we should be home. Most of us kids played out in the neighborhood, and we didn't show up until it was time for supper. Like, for instance, my name is James Floyd Free. My mom would start supper, that is what my Yankee friends called dinner. When it was ready, she would step on the porch and holler, "Jimmy, supper is ready." If I didn't show up in 5 minutes, she would shout with more intensity, "Jimmy Floyd, supper is ready." If I was not sitting at the table by the time she got to Jimmy Floyd Free, I was in deep trouble. Well, back to some more serious stuff. I'm worried about President Biden. I'm also afraid he's not getting enough exercise and rest. It seems like he has been sitting behind the desk signing everything that Bernie and AOC won't sign. And I even saw a picture of Radar trying to get something signed. I also felt sorry for Jen, the new White House press secretary. It seems like she didn't know the answer to a lot of questions. She kept saying, "I will have to circle back around on that one." I could tell she wasn't from the South. If she had been from the South, she would have said, "Well, there you go," which is the universal default in the South when you don't know the answer. I hope she doesn't get dizzy and fall. I noticed she didn't have her mask on in the picture, so maybe she was just sucking in too much air. I recently heard a sermon about dead men bones, and I realized that there are many men, from their appearance you would think they were alive, but inward they have dead man bones. In Matthew 23:27, Jesus was speaking to the politicians of his day. That would likely apply to many of the politicians of our day. "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like unto whitened sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones, and all uncleanness." This points out that you can be religious, but if you don't have a relationship with Christ, you have dead man bones. There are power and life in the bones of those that have a relationship with Christ. In 2 Kings 13:21, it says, "And it came to pass, as they were burying a man, that, behold, they spied a band of men, and they cast the dead man in the tomb of Elisha. And when the man was let down and touched the bones of Elisha, he revived and stood up on his feet." Now those guys, they were afraid of the approaching men, for they feared them, so they just threw the body in on Elisha's grave. And I just wonder what their reaction would have been when they saw the man, the dead man, stand up on his own feet after he had been revived by touching the bones of Elisha. The movie Roe v. Wade has been in production for the last couple of years and is now complete. The director now has deals to stream the Roe v. Wade movie on Amazon, iTunes, and pay-per-view services across the country. And now we need to advertise this movie to every person in America who cares about the lives of the unborn. Would you consider donating at least $48 to advertise this film? Millions of people will see it and save countless unborn lives. I've attached the link to the trailer and we'll attempt to play that for you.
We have been in our second civil war for over 50 years now.
A bunch of disorganized men are going to rid this country of abortion restriction.
Doctors must protect life from the point of conception.
Are you sure you want to do this?
You're a liar. You did this. You led me down this path. You didn't want them.
You seen the post this morning?
I saw it.
Idiot. There's a leak.
They've got Hollywood on their side.
This is a conspiracy.
Today, my mommy killed me.
We found a girl in Texas. We'll give her a pseudonym. Call her Jane Roe.
We found the right pregnant girl and the lawyers we could control.
When you see a kid out of law school get to argue to the highest court in Texas, we want to rally behind the women's movement to get the TV media on board.
What he's trying to say is I am the first Negro woman to graduate Harvard Medical.
Faith in God, respect for his law.
You should join us. I promise you'd have more freedom.
But we weren't Jewish, so we didn't say anything. And then they came after the mentally deficient. But we weren't deficient, so we did nothing. And now they're coming after the unborn. And so you're gonna do nothing?
It's God's duty to forgive.
It's ours to rule the law.
You're changing your vote because your family found out. Or was it the media?
If we don't sort this out, fur will fly today.
You were trying to control this war, old buddy. That is completely unethical.
In the matter of Roe v. Wade, I want the case re-argued.
So you want to enslave women?
I gotta go before I blow a gasket. We got the majority. We're gonna win.
This is beyond the authority of the Supreme Court. We are the law of the land.
These girls should not be put through the pregnancy and should be entitled to an abortion.
The true silent minority.
Who is speaking for these children?
We will hear arguments in Roe against Wade.
We have a responsibility to protect children, whether born or unborn. They are defenseless. Perhaps you have been struggling with things in the last year or maybe this year. The virus has affected almost everyone in some way. Some have lost loved ones, others have lost their business or their job, or you might be uncertain what the future holds for you in 2021. To say in 1992, Pastor Lawrence Chewing, Jr. had a lousy year. His father had just died. Several things were going wrong, and just everything seemed to be the wrong way. When he received a call that his wife, who was expecting, had been rushed to the hospital. When he arrived in the hospital, his wife said, "Lawrence, we have lost the baby." It was a little boy. Lawrence asked the nurse if he could see the baby, and the nurse brought the little boy in on a pillow. Lawrence said he picked up the child in his palm of his hand, and he cried out, "Lord, what are you trying to tell me?" He and his wife were distraught. Lawrence decided to take 6 months leave from his church, and during that time he would go to the basement and play the piano. One day he was playing a tune he had never heard. He was led to scriptures in Hebrews 6:19, which I will read, which hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, which entereth into that within the veil. Now I think anchor is mentioned about 4 times in the scriptures, and 3 of those times it's referring to a physical anchor on a boat or ship. With that, the great song, "The Anchor Holds," was born. And Lawrence soon had many people recording the song. If you're going through a rough spot, I recommend you listen to the Anchor Holds. Until we meet again, may God bless you, your family, and this great nation that we live in.
On my knees as I face the raging seas, the anchor holds in spite of the storm. I've had visions